Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheilamac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAARADIO. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheilamac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheilamac, and today we have special guest Kathy Burns. She is a CPO, and that is a board-certified professional organizer, image consultant, author, and speaker. As the founder of organizingenergize.com, a professional organizing and imaging consultancy, her mission for almost 2 decades has been to end overwhelm, energize, and transform lives by creating systems people can stick to. Check out Kathy's new Muck-Free Method Masterclass. All right, welcome to the show, Kathy.
Thank you, Sheila. I so appreciate being on this show, and I love you.
You too. And, this show actually came about based on my new best-selling book of Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And the last 2 years, we have had some serious situations. So especially dealing with organization, that is for sure, because everything has gone crazy. So do you have a story about something in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track?
Absolutely. I will, there's been several as an entrepreneur, jumping all the way back. But shortly after the 9/11 attack, my husband and I had a big publishing and design and printing agency in Florida. Our business was tourism. And tourism, when I halt, right? No one's allowed to go anywhere. And so what happened with that was we held on for a little while, but the blessing of that was I had the space and time to try to figure out what did I want to do when I grow up. Because the whole time I've been saying, I was on the money wheel, making money, but not really happy with what I was doing. And my husband said, look, if you take a year off to figure out what you want to do, I'll support you during that. And so I was able to have the space and time to reinvent myself. And that's when I created my first professional organizing agency called Add Space to Your Life. And it was Add Space to Your Life. And I was only able to do it because I had the space and time to figure out what I should be doing. What was my dharma? What was my purpose? And ended up, my purpose was as a change agent to help clients change, move through change with grace and with less fear, because that's what I had been doing all my life after 13 careers.
Wow, that's incredible. So tell me about being a professional organizer. What have you noticed over the last 2 years has changed in helping people get organized?
Well, number one, at a time we weren't allowed to see any clients one-on-one. And my clients were very spoiled because they wanted me to see me one-on-one and they didn't want to go online virtually. That has shifted exponentially to more of an online type of business. But people need professional organizers more than they ever have before, in my opinion, because as we were nesting and stuck at home, we started hitting the shop button and thinking that if we just had more things in our life to make our life better and less boring and so on and so forth, if we accumulate and nest and make our place all better and pretty, it would be better. But what happened was we are overwhelmed with Amazon empty boxes. We're overwhelmed with returns that never happen. So it is time to take a step back and say, okay, maybe we're almost out of this crazy period. I don't know. Maybe we are. Hopefully we are. Now it's time to assess. Did you crowd yourself and fill your life with stuff trying to make yourself feel better or not? Man, maybe you didn't. But if you're like most of the people that I've encountered, that's what people kind of did. They nested.
That's a good point. I've never stayed home so many days in my life. Like in the couple of years, especially those lockdown days, it was
Yeah.
difficult. And I had a couple kids come home from college because the dorms were closed.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is awesome," because I have like it's like I say, it's like a big slumber party, but after 2 weeks, it wasn't as fun anymore. And so they brought all their stuff. And so,
Right.
you know, it was definitely a change. There went my meditation room and my and into a bedroom again, all that. So things got moved around, and I could not for the life of me hire somebody to help me clean. Like I used to have, okay, once a week or twice a month at least, somebody come and do everything, like the major stuff. And I would be
Right.
right there next to them, obviously, but it was like just to help I have two big houses, so it's one of those situations, and we couldn't get somebody to come out. And I was like,
Mm-mm.
oh, it's not like I don't want to do this, but it's a lot of extra work. It was
Right.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were they not coming out to clean because of the COVID restrictions, or were they not coming out to clean because they couldn't clean around your kids' stuff?
Well, no, it was the restrictions, and then when those were lifted, we didn't have a lot of luck. I had
Yeah.
a beautiful couple for 17 years that cleaned my
Mm.
own home, and they retired and left. They actually went to a different state. California is interesting right now, right? And
Yeah, absolutely.
and so they left, they went to Texas, and I had to try to find somebody new, and I had different people show up that had different things going on that didn't, they had issues, and one was on drugs. I was like, "What is up with this?" One
Not
wanted,
good.
okay, like my house wasn't dirty or disorganized, really. It was just like basic, like, let's do some deep cleaning for 4 to 6 hours,
Right.
and you're like, "You want $500?"
Yeah.
I do myself. I'm good. It's like, do you have a PhD in cleaning? It's not a professional organizer. Like, what is going on? You don't even speak English and you want how much? And then I had one of my kids was like, "Oh, mom, you had that person come out and now money's missing." They had their birthday money and money was gone from their room.
Yeah.
And I was like, so to find somebody you can trust and feel like you don't have to watch and just, that's like reasonable. It's just been interesting. So I've had to change my routines and rituals and how everybody participates at home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. We lost our house cleaner too and have still not found a good one to come back.
Yeah.
So we found a few, one ruined floor. I mean, so yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find someone that you can trust and
Right.
depend on that's not going to steal your stuff or ruin your house. So I have a question for you though. So when
Yeah.
your kids went back to school, right?
They're still home. I
Oh,
mean,
they're
they're in
still
school
home.
now. They're actually in a different, they're at the vacation home going to school.
Okay.
As California, no. So yeah, so they're in a different state going to school
I was
because
just gonna say, did they take all their stuff or did they leave it with mom?
no, they're still home. They're still living out of my house, and I love
Okay.
it. So yeah, no, the stuff is. I have a really big house, so it's not too bad. But things had to get reorganized for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it is what it is. But I did notice that there is also a depression clutter that shows up, and for
Mhm.
myself, I did lose my youngest son. He had a heart condition and he passed away December
Oh.
2019. And
Oh.
and that was another reason, one of the kids came home, was like, "I can't do this." So that was before the pandemic, then the other one showed up. But
Right.
it was okay, you're in that shock and that whole state. I have a whole chapter. My first chapter in my book was about that situation, and I wrote it before that happened. So he had a heart,
Oh,
but yeah. So
wow.
there was it was like I just didn't have the motivation, or I don't know what. I just did not give a flying duck. And and you
Right.
go through your grieving process, and then slowly I started waking up and I went to a big event in California, and we did some wonderful things and flying back and forth, and it was wonderful. And then the whole world shut down with COVID, and I was like, Okay. Now I'm really upset because now I'm on
Yeah.
down. Are you kidding? I'm barely getting back up. And
Oh,
and you look around and I thought, oh, there was some clutter that kind of it kind of showed up. And I was like,
well,
yeah.
yeah. Well, clutter has four best friends:
Mm-hmm.
death,
Yeah.
disease, divorce, dependence.
Wow.
So you had disease and death, and
Yeah.
then you got the dependence too coming back.
Yeah.
So if you did not get any clutter, I would be totally surprised. I would be
Right.
in shock.
Yeah.
And when you have one, it's something. When you have two, it's something. If you have three, it just can get out of control. It sounds like you've had really good control of it, though. It's good that you have a larger space as well. But you got whammied,
Yeah.
so you would have it naturally gotten clutter.
Yep. Yeah. And it was like one day I slowly, and I was, everybody went to the grief therapy. We did everything you're supposed to do, everything I teach about doing, but you still need that time and that journey. And
Yeah.
going through that, one of the things for me was that one day it was like I could see the clutter. And before that, I just like, zoop, I didn't even
Yeah.
know it was in a I just put it over there, put it in that room, put it in that room. And then the room was like, you can't open the door. and,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, okay. Whoa, wait a minute. How did I miss this? So when you're as a professional organizer, are you able to go in and assess that, or how do you assess what the cause of the clutter is and how to get that if it's something like one of those situations?
Well, it's generally one of those situations that will cause that, unless people are just chronically disorganized in life. But even if they are chronically disorganized, I still think it stems back to something in their youth that had to do with one of those four factors.
Mm,
Maybe they had disease in their family and were living with it. Like my mother, she had cancer for 8 years while I was a child. So there's always something in the background. So
yeah.
there's really not an assessment or a judgment on why you are there. The question is, how are we going to move you beyond that?
Mhm.
And as a professional organizer, I say I'm sneaky like that. You think I'm working in the external environment? No, I'm working on something that much deeper than the external, but we're starting on the external because guess what? That's a safe place. That's a
Mhm.
safe place that can be handled and tackled more with ease than going into the mental thing of why did I get here?
Right, right. 1 second. I'm going to let you share a little bit more about how somebody would get started with you, and I'm just going to put you on the camera while I go and take care of this dog that just came home. Okay.
Welcome home. Welcome home, doggy.
All right.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, the dogs are great. What if people are looking to hire a professional organizer? There's a couple things to consider. First off, are they trained and are they registered? I'm a board certified professional organizer, and look for one of those. It doesn't have to be look for one, because what that means is that we've had extensive training in the field. We've been working with clients a minimum of 1,500 hours and taken a huge board exam and keep continued with CEUs every year to keep our certification. So look for someone that's well trained. My ideal client are artistic, creative women entrepreneurs who are really super smart and savvy, but don't quite have the systems in place to back up and support them, either in their life or in their business. So if you're someone who's looking for systems to support you, you feel like you're in overwhelm, you're creative, you're smart, but you're just kind of stuck in the muck of your stuff, so to speak, then that would be a time to call in a professional organizer to see if one of us could help you.
That's
I
great.
hear I hear no dog.
Yes, yes, the dog had to go out. So
Ooh, ooh.
yeah, so that's one thing. How do you organize for this new model of working from home where a dog might show up with one of the kids or something like that happens? How do you organize the functionality of work, home life, fun, maybe pets? How does that show up now that things are so different?
Yeah, for starters, I want to say that we're all forgiven for all of this stuff. I have one of my clients had a cat, their 7-year-old kid running naked in the background when she's teaching school, right? So what we did with so what we did with her was we actually used the shed outside of her house and turned it into her actual studio to be a teacher in. You know, so we all have all sorts of trauma and drama going on right now. That was just a really funny one. There he goes, the streaker. So basically what you need to do is set aside and set up your own background, your own little safe space where you can work undistracted. Now, obviously a whole room is perfect, but quite honestly, a lot of us don't have entire rooms. Maybe we're going to take over the guest room.
Yeah.
And whatever room you take over, I want to make sure that you have the tools in your space that help you do whatever it is you're going to do. If you're a podcaster, let's make sure you have your tools. If you just need your desk, let's make sure you have a desk with a file cabinet. If you have to sneak away a corner of a room, face away from that room and don't face into the room, because there's going to be people floating by all the time in your family. So make sure that you have the tools within your reach and that you are as much distraction free as you possibly can be. I've had a few of my clients set up, the little, what do you call those? The room dividers. To block them. Their corner of the room is now their office, right? And the room divider is there, so they don't have the distractions. But the most important thing is to have your tools in place. You have to have a file cabinet. You probably need a printer. You definitely need your computer and all the tools around it. So make sure that your space is set up for productivity. Because I'll tell you what, Sheila, the average U.S. executive, when they leave corporate environment and they have to get up and get a paper, they're gone for like 3.5 minutes. In your home, if you have to get up and get something and go somewhere, do you have any idea how long? Give me a guess on how long you think we're gone from our desk.
Probably 17 minutes.
You are right. 18.5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That's the average time that we are gone, because guess what? Fido, who just came home, now says it's time for treats.
Yes.
The laundry is saying, I need to put you in the dryer. Your kids are asking you a question. There's all sorts of mayhem that happens. So all I can say is my best piece of advice: protect your space like it's yours. You know, it's yours and yours alone. Don't let little paws come in and move things around. Set it up for success and have all your tools right there, so that whenever you get down to business, you're actually doing business and not distracted by outside mayhem that happens all the time when you work from home.
Yes. Now, do you work with people that have ADHD or ADD or whatever you want to call it, where they really struggle with organizing tasks or care tasks? And
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you suggest for people that are in that realm, where they're usually geniuses, but doing simple tasks are like holy hell?
It's my favorite client, actually. You know, the artistic creative entrepreneurs. Most have ADD or ADHD. And, quite honestly, Sheila, I think with the internet, we all have a little bit of that. I think there's so much distractibility that we're all on the borderline of being ADD. I named my first company Add Space to Your Life. I always say ADD, no pun intended, add space, because that's my jam. But a real practical thing to do is to actually have some type of a list taking device that works for you. A lot of my people, they're pen and paper. They want the pad. People who are virtual, I have a app that it's called Do It Tomorrow. It's a free app on the phone. It's a list task making thing. So you need to make lists for yourself, and you need to double check the list. And I like to use the 5-step process, the Ivy Lee thing at the beginning of the day, or before the beginning of the day. Write down the 5 things you want to accomplish, put them in order that you want to accomplish them. Start with 1 and continue on 2, 3. End of the day, or something happens, 4 or 5 is left over. Guess what? That becomes 1 and 2 for the next day. So that allows you to be very, very methodical on the tasks that you need to do and avoid the distractions. When you're in your deep thought creative process and you're working on your business, you want to turn off all bings, bells, beepers, and all that good golly stuff. Turn off the internet, turn off the Facebook, and focus on what you're trying to focus on. Guarantee you'll get a lot more done in a lot less time if you can have the discipline to eliminate the distractions.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. So when I started this show, I'd have to turn everything on Do Not Disturb, because
Yeah.
you don't want it to disturb you. And it was funny because I started to really like that. And now people can
Mhm.
schedule time with me and everything. And unless it's a scheduled call, that baby is on do not disturb. This is so wonderful. I get much more done, more family
Mhm.
fun time. And so that has made a huge difference for me. And
Yeah,
people
good
do
good
it.
for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. You get used to it because you know what? There's Skype, there's missing messaging, there's LinkedIn messages, there's phone calls, there's email, there's everything. Everybody's coming at you all the time,
Right.
nonstop, and you got to just turn it off, or you'll
Mhm.
never get anything done.
Oh, it's so peaceful. And then somebody says, "Oh, add the WhatsApp." And I was like, "Oh, that thing is on silence." That is no, no. That would beep. It was so many groups that I'm in. That thing would beep every 2 minutes, if that, maybe less, with all
Yeah,
these people and these oh man. And there was
no,
nothing. I got nothing done. And
right.
so this is a game changer for me for sure. So now
Yeah.
what if I'm looking for those tuning in, if they're looking for a personal organizer, now are you offering online classes, or how does online work versus in person?
I think online works even better actually because it's much more empowering to my clients. Most of my clients have shifted to online, and how it works is it's me and the client one on one, and where it's actually helping them determine what is the cause of their stress and duress, and then working through the process that it takes to eliminate it. It's very empowering because they get to do a lot of the stuff on their own as opposed to me being in there doing it for them. And some people say, I want you all to do it. Well, guess what? As a board certified professional organizer, number one, my code of ethics states that I have to transfer skills to the client. So I'm loving the online because my clients do learn the skill sets on their own. And when you do it, it sticks. And the
Mhm.
whole idea behind sustainability, I have a master class that I'm teaching called the Muck Free Method. And the three pillars of that are shift your focus, shift your idea, shift your attitude, be ready to shift and embrace, and then simplify, get rid of this stuff that's holding you back. And that's the main thing with coaching is what's holding you back? What's the muck that's making you stuck? It could be a broken database. It could be time management. It could be list taking. It could be any number of things. But we always start there. So what can we simplify? And most importantly, what can we delegate? And what can we eliminate that just shouldn't even be there to begin with? And then the third step of the process is sustain. Every single person, what I love about my work is every single person is different. Every
Mhm.
single person needs different things. So we
Yep.
create the systems, we shift them through, create, do the systems. And then for sustaining, it's like, okay, what's working perfectly? What's not quite there? And then we go into tweaking it so that it's a customized system for every single person. So it's really a fun process. It's just one-on-one with me. I also have monthly group coaching calls where people come on and they hear a presentation, they jump in with what they need to find out and what answers they need to get. And my in-person clients also on the higher level have access to me with Voxer. So you can actually call in their questions and I answer them real quick right away, their sticking point, and help them get over it.
Yes, yes. And what difference, so the learning how to organize with this, where you're doing the hands-on yourself and going through the process and it's very individualized. What do you see is the difference for your clients a year later or 6 months later? How are they doing? Do they need to do like a reboot or a recheck check-in, or how does that work?
Yeah, no matter who it is when they get organized, whether in person or online, they definitely need a reboot and a recheck. Because things will fall through the cracks, and practices might not have been practiced as much. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to create a habit.
Mhm.
So if my clients are not creating habits and sticking to them for 4 to 6 weeks, they're not going to stick.
Okay.
So I find that a big difference is that they become very empowered at changing. They learn how to change. I call it changing with grace and
Mm.
changing with less fear because they've done it themselves. I always say letting go is a muscle, and going through change means that you're letting go of something. You're letting go of your preconceived notion. You're letting go of maybe stuff and clutter. You're letting go of old habits that no longer serve. But once you become adept at letting go, you're really adept at changing. And guess what? Change is a part of life. If you're not changing, you're pretty much dead. So you're either going to like learn how to change with grace and with enthusiasm and excitement, or you're going to it against it for the rest of your life and be unhappy and not get anywhere.
Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. And there is something about, I don't know if all, your clients, if they're male, female, both, if there's a majority of one versus the other, but there seems to be a societal difference. So if you go over to a guy's house and he may, work and have a family at home or whatever, and it's the same, the expectation is different. So it's a bachelor pad and it's cool and it's okay if stuff is not organized. You go over to a lady's house and so when I wasn't organized, I'd be like, welcome to my bachelorette pad. And I was like, if you don't like it, that's okay. But, and it was that, but there is a different expectation and a different, it's like cleaning and care tasks are morally neutral, but people forget that. And they take it personally when you're going through something. Like I couldn't do everything at that time when I had all that stuff going on and a loss.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was good with that. I was like, it's okay. I'll get there when I'm ready. And then I did. But it's that giving yourself grace and to get through and getting help when you need it. I actually had people come out and help me a little bit with that room and my kids. So it just needed to happen that way when I was ready. So what do you see with that difference between male and female and the expectations and the personal expectations that we put on ourselves?
It's interesting. That's a really interesting question. I had so many things percolating through my head. My first thing is men don't really want to ask for help. So we as women, we don't mind asking for help. I mean, you are a strong, powerful woman. You're like, I need help. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Men feel like they should do everything on their own. And quite honestly, a few of the men that I style and I create their image, I style them, they don't want anybody to know that they had a stylist, right? Women are like, I have an image consultant. This is great, right? So it's a different thing. And so men don't really want help. They don't want to say they need help. Women were much more open to saying, yeah, I could use a, put me up on my bootstraps, Sheila, please. I need help. And so that's one thing. Also, I think that there is a difference in the way we housekeep versus men. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when I met my husband, he had like 3 pieces of furniture and he was proud of it. That's all he had. That's all he wanted. And he married me and got a house, right? It's like, you brought the house. I'm like, yeah, we're girls. That's what we like to do. So I think that, that's another thing we like, we're built-in nesters. We want to have things beautiful. One thing that I find with women is creating systems. They have to be pretty.
Yes.
But that's a slicey dicey edge, because sometimes those pretty things aren't really proper organizing devices. So I start, I talk to them about that. It might not be pretty, but it's going to be effective. The basket with the lid to hold your files is not going to happen for you. It ain't going to work. You're going to put all that crap on the lid and never get to the files. So it's a different dichotomy working with men and women. The majority of my clients are artistic savvy, creative entrepreneurs. I love them, women. They're women who are just like, they're so creative. And, I have a background in music and that kind of thing. And so I love the creative entrepreneur. I get them totally. Everything could possibly be an art object, right? Everything could possibly be used for something else because they're creative and they think that way. And that's what can send them amok. But that's another thing that I really have fun reeling them back in and getting real. It's like, are you really going to use that piece of glass for that table over there? Let's talk about that.
Yes, that's so true. And it's really interesting because I like to have things beautiful. But I always liked having help with the the care tasks and yet running businesses like I do and everything else. It's just one of those things. And to have to do both is a lot sometimes. And so that's where that space comes in, where it's like, is it good enough, or do you have to have it perfect? And is there something in between that's manageable? And it could be different than what maybe you used to do when things weren't the way they are today. That
I
change.
think everything's different right now, and
Yeah.
perfection is overrated anyhow. And that's what I love. Like, your dog could have kept on, he could
Oh,
have jumped in your lap, and
oh,
we would have been going, "Oh, what a cute little dog,"
yes,
it's all fine.
coulda.
You know what I mean? It's like things are totally different now, which I love, because we all have a lot more permission to be real. I think that that being real is valued much more now
Right.
than what we used to be. We used to have to put on the persona, differently now. Now we're all much more lax and easy on ourselves. I think we're less hard,
Yeah.
because we've seen devastation, we've seen loss. Every one of us has seen loss and devastation during this time, and
Yeah.
so we're more lenient about it all. And thank God, because it's time.
It is. It definitely is. So now, how would somebody get started working with you if they wanted to get started on a organizing mission?
They can reach out to me at Kathy at organizedsandenergized.com. It's KATHI, organized and energized.com. And they can reach out to me and just, set up a chat. I have a chatwithkathy.com. They can set up a link to maybe chit chat and, just tell me what they're up to, and see if it's something that I feel is a good fit that I can help and support them with. I always refer out to other professionals if they're not quite ready for a pro organizer, but they're ready for maybe an accountant or whatever. I can help them with whatever they need and point them in the right direction. But book a chat with Kathy.com is probably the easy thing. If you want to learn more about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, organizingenergized.com is the website. And then every month I do the Muck Free Method Masterclass. And it's a free masterclass for anybody who wants to start on the path to getting their life and their business better organized. And that happens the third Wednesday of every month. And you can also find out about that.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kathy, for being a guest on the show. It looks like our time is up now. So I look forward to sharing about that. I will share a little video about what you're doing as well. All right. Thank you again for being a guest. All right. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages. Stay tuned. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheilamacshow here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheilamac, and I have a special gift that Kathy, our guest today, is going to share with us. And just a little bit more about Kathy. You may have seen her here on the Sheilamac Show, or also featured on Good Morning America, or read her tips in Oprah Magazine. Kathy has a best-selling book and is working on her third to be released this fall. With her muck-free method, Kathy shows busy entrepreneurs how to clear the clutter out of their business and their brains. Here's the cool part. Kathy's method works even if you work from home, work from an office, own your own business, work with partners, have no idea where to begin. If you're a professional who craves easy, sustainable systems to simplify your life, you can use Kathy's muck-free method to work for you. Yes, the masterclass is very impressive, and Kathy is presenting it again in a few days on Wednesday, the 16th. So if you'd like to see it for yourself, save your seat at organizingenergized.com/MAC. That's organizingenergized.com/Mac. Lifestyle design. Instead of starting out with a rock bottom moment and ending with that person's moment of empowerment, we are going to compare the lives of two women. The life of Anne. Anne was very athletic growing up. As a young adult, she was active and healthy and loved to exercise. She helped rescue animals, volunteering at the local shelter to share her love with those animals. Then she got married and had kids.
Anne gave up a lot of her passions and the things that made her happy in order to please everybody else. Her husband is allergic to animal dander, so she couldn't have pets at home, and she gradually stopped going to the shelter too. She didn't stay as active as she'd been when she was single. She said yes to all her friends, doing anything they asked her to. She cared for a lot of people, but she didn't set boundaries. Anne's days were long and busy, full, but not fulfilling. Anne had a vision of how she wanted her life to look, but she woke up one day and realized that she was living a very different life. Eventually, Anne's health failed. She developed many health issues because she had stopped eating healthy foods, exercising, and taking time to rest her mind. She spent a lot of money on health care instead of spending time staying healthy. When she really needed people to help her, she didn't know how to ask. Some of her friends had more boundaries than Anne, so they said no to her requests, even though in the past she had helped them move or with accounting or babysitting. People weren't willing to give as much as she had, so she was at a loss. And with some of the people in her life who did want to reciprocate, Anne wasn't able to be vulnerable or gracious enough to receive. Anne is at the point of retiring from a job she doesn't love, and she's physically and financially unable to keep up with her friends and family. She sees her friends doing work they're passionate about and talented at, and it affects her self-worth when she compares her life to theirs. She feels stuck, upset, and resentful, and she's angry with herself for letting life slip by. Anne thought she was doing the right things. She was a good student, a good daughter and sibling, the one who didn't need so much attention. She was taught to put everybody else first, and she's done an amazing job of teaching everybody else to treat her like a doormat. She never filled up her own self, and now she has a very painful void in her life. The life of Barbara. Barbara has designed her life and lives it by her design. She has still done things for other people, but she follows her own definition of happiness and success. Interesting things happened in her childhood, but at some point, she decided that she was going to live life on her terms. Barbara made a lot of mistakes. She tried to live her passion 3 or 4 different times in different ways. It didn't work out at first, but she was determined. At first, she wasn't even sure what that looked like, but she knew it would involve art, dance, and educating children. As it unfolded, she started teaching children to read and created a story time program. Looking back, she laughs about her ups and downs. The determination to live her life and work around her passion and her gifts was considered non-traditional, so she experienced some bumps that made her strong and resilient. Barbara kept solid rituals, routines, and boundaries in place. She eats healthy foods and takes care of herself so she can help other people too. She made her self-care a priority, knowing that she was modeling that for her children. Barbara and Anne are the same age, but Barbara looks much younger because she's healthier and happier. She wakes up in the morning and is excited to go to work. When Barbara looks back at her life so far, she's at peace. She knows she's done her highest good. No part of her feels that she wasted time on things that didn't align with her values. She lives exactly the life she was supposed to, the life she chooses. And she's excited for whatever comes next. You only get one. Anne has lived her whole life based on what other people wanted, whereas Barbara has lived life for herself. And it's still full of love and other people. Which life would you choose? Maybe you choose a little of each. These are extreme examples, so maybe you choose neither. The point is that it's your life and you get to choose what it looks like. Anne didn't choose to design her own life, but it's not too late. It's not over for her. It doesn't matter what your age is. Until you're not here anymore, you can still make a change. The rest of your life can become the best part of your life. All the decisions you make have an impact on your future, on your whole life. They build upon each other. If you don't decide how you're going to live your life, somebody else is going to decide for you, and most people are happy to do that. They're happy to sell you the wrong house so they can make a commission. They're happy to put you in a job you don't like for less pay so you do all the work. But if you're not happy, it's not a blessing. I'm not a Christian Scientist, but Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science movement, said, "Whatever blesses one, blesses all." If you're not happy, or if you're not living your essence, your truth, your life, it's hard for you to send happiness to other people in your life. But when you are happy and using your talents and gifts, there's no competition. There's no ego. You're just connected to everything and everybody in love, and it's beautiful. Everyone has that beauty in them, in the way they're here and who they are. We're all amazing, talented, beautiful, incredible people in our own right. When we try to shift and fit into a mold of who we believe we're supposed to be, the adult who never plays, who goes to work and takes on debt to buy a house, it kills our souls. Every day we lose sight of who we really are. How can you be happy when the most important parts of you are hidden or quieted because you followed somebody else's rules? How many people have felt like they had to go to school to become a doctor or a lawyer just because their parents wanted them to? And they're miserable. If they were living their truth, they would be happy, and that's worth even more than money. That allows them to attract the right peer group and a partner who's aligned with their truth. It may sound obvious, but when you're not living your truth, you're living a lie. When that's the case, you may say that you want something, but it doesn't align with you because it's not real. And you can't fake a life and a lie for long. The real you, the beautiful, amazing essence of you, is going to escape every time. Free your soul. It's time to free your soul. Start by figuring out your temperament, talents, and what you really love. You can refer back to the reboot activity in Chapter 6 to get started. There are surveys and tests you can take, but you have to be honest with your answers, so honest it may even hurt other people's feelings. Like the parents who always dreamed of you becoming a doctor while you wanted to be a cruise ship comedian. Doing this will free your soul to go be who you're really supposed to be. And when you are living the life you're supposed to, you're going to help people in your own way. You're going to live your purpose because that's just who you are. When you're fully living, you're able to fully contribute to society. Although you're doing more self-care, although you're just living your truth and your essence on your terms, you're going to serve far more people. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. Finding your truth and designing your life based on that truth and your passion serves a higher purpose and a higher good. It serves humanity far more than doing what you or others believe you're supposed to do. So it's actually the least self-centric thing you could ever do. Sheila's story. When my kids were old enough to go to school, and I was making cash flow from renting out the buildings my stores were in, I decided I wanted to be more involved. I wanted to be there with my children. I'd taught the kids at the store, I'd led classes on safety and training, so I decided to get a teaching certificate to teach in private schools, mostly creative, art-centered schools such as Montessori and Waldorf. It was important to me that they were in this environment that featured learning through story, music, art, and their imaginations. I wanted them to learn languages, handwork, gardening, woodwork, and living through the history of different world cultures instead of just reading about them in textbooks. These private schools emphasize feelings and emotions, and the teachers are empowered to modify learning for each child. This unique standard of education was what I wanted for all my kids, and I wanted to be there too. I had 3 children of my own and 3 foster kids. That adds up to a big tuition cost, but as a teacher, my children would get to go to the school where I taught for free or at a reduced rate. As a teacher, I felt like I got paid to have fun. I even started a tutoring program at my house, so I made a huge career shift from owning and operating stores to teaching, but I still showed up as myself. I was still me, using my capabilities and talents, and I was emotionally ready to make that shift. I wanted to have as much time with my children as I could and be involved in their lives. The fact that I was being paid to be near them and able to contribute to other kids made teaching a natural fit. I was doing life on my terms. I was still getting income from my investment building. I never felt like I worked for somebody else, even when I did, because I was showing up on purpose with a heart, a vision, and a reason. The bonus came when, because I was a teacher, we all had the entire summer off. We were on the same schedule, so I had the summer off. Christmas vacation, spring break. When I was running the store, I didn't take a vacation for 14 years. Now I had the income and time with my kids, so we could go play. We could travel. One summer, we went across the United States visiting all the historical sites. We would read about the Amish and then go see where they lived and learn even more. The culmination of our trip across the country was going to Epcot Center and feeling like we saw the rest of the world. We would study another culture and then go learn about it at Epcot. It wasn't all rides and Mickey Mouse at Disney World. Applying the Boots formula to lifestyle design. Using the Boots formula, you can go from being stuck saying yes to everyone to becoming the woman you want to be. Being. Designing your life starts with the first step. Who are you being? That is going to be different for everybody, and once you've done some assessments to find your temperament, talents, and truth, you can look at how you are different from anybody else. Who are you going to be when you show up now? Who do you need to be to truly be the best version of yourself? How are you going to live your essence and truth? You may have a whole life set up around something that is not true to who you are. Now that you are redesigning your life, whether this is your difficult situation or you're doing so after making it through another rock bottom situation, the gift is being able to set a new foundation, but that means knowing who you're going to be. Orientation. With this orientation, you need to say, this is where I am, and this is what I want. What do you want your life to look like in a year? What do you want it to look like in 5 years? Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what can be done in 5 years. This is a complete lifestyle redesign. You're not just switching one thing or dealing with one emergency situation. You're reconfiguring every system in your life. Order of operations. The first step in the order of operations is to figure out your first priority. If you could just do one thing today that would make everything else easier and make you feel really happy, what would that be? Giving yourself the time you need to think about and do this one thing will make you feel like you took care of yourself, and your whole day will be better. Give yourself those little things, and they might be different each day. They build up, and when you consistently do the first thing you added, you can then add more things, and those build up too. Take it in order of priority. You may need to adjust your relationship or get out of a career that doesn't serve you. That takes time. You're not going to make this choice and then be in the exact life you desire the next day. There are steps in between. This is Sheilamac. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's SHEILAMACSHOW here on KCAARADIO, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and I have some news for you. Yes, you. I'm celebrating my 3rd year now on the station and will be expanding the show to a global network as well. You may now find the Sheila Mac Show on all major podcasting channels, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all the episodes are now available for viewing there as well. And I'm asking you for a quick favor. If you like the show, please help support the spread of this reboot channel on YouTube as well. My goal is to help as many people as possible through our interesting times to rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life. I also wanted to share a little bit more about how I got here, what I do now, and how designing a business, career, and life on your terms is more than possible at any age or stage in life. I am an enterprisingly forward-thinking consultant, show host, and best-selling author. But how did I get here? Well, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with NASA JPL to open my first of 5 large gift stores, while also starting to invest in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as negotiations on leases with Warner Brothers and winning trips to London as the top-selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the U.S. for multiple years. My stores were built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. So now, some of you know this and some of you don't know this, but as a young girl with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at age 10, then in foster care, where it was really hard to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated at the age of 15 to start college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program. Back then, it was called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at-risk youth started their careers. Yes, I began my career helping business leaders and working professionals to design a life they love, where they can have success in their careers and get to the business of life. See, a funny thing happened along the way. When I first opened my gift store, it was kind of crazy because I was this young upstart. That's what a lot of the store owners called me. My first store was in Montrose, California, in this sweet little hometown shopping park with other stores and restaurants nearby. And so I was the young upstart that didn't know what she was doing. At least that's what everybody said. And I didn't really care what they said. At that age, you know, their opinion was like, I don't really care. So that was probably a really good thing because I stayed focused on what I needed to do. And I had negotiated to lease out a 5,000 square foot gift store that needed a lot of work, and I got free rent and for about 6 months, and I had to start making the rent, which was $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then, $1 a square foot. And so I had to learn and relearn. I finally did hire quite soon in the game. I did hire a marketing expert, branding expert, I guess back then, and that lady really helped me to figure things out when I first started. And when you first start a business, especially when you're young, it was like I had no idea what to do, but I needed to learn because my rent was going to start coming due every month. And over that time, I started having more success. I did crazy things, like stayed open until almost midnight every night, along with the restaurants who were very close to my store, while everybody else closed shop at about 5 or 6 p.m. So I was making more money from the start, and I just really, my store was to help my kids, and the products I sold was whatever the community wanted. I sold lots of things to people in the entertainment industry. I worked with cruise ships. I worked with many different people in the community. And later on, the store owners actually came to me and asked me if I would consult them and help them. I actually started buying my other buildings because I didn't like the idea of paying rent for years and years and years and not building equity. So I did get my real estate license through that and invested and bought my other 4 store buildings. And lots of the other store owners worked with me, paid me to consult and help them do what I was doing. And I didn't really even know it was called consulting. I just knew how to figure it out, I guess. And so that's how I started my career. And now, you know, I raised 6 children, all that, and now they're grown. And so I get to come to work every day and do what I naturally do best as an enterprising and forward-thinking business leader. Through my show, courses, and live events, I guide entrepreneurs and working professionals like you through the profitable steps of building a business, creation to expansion, marketing from planning to implementation, wealth preservation through strategic planning and, yes, real estate investing, and lifestyle design so that you can earn more while getting back to the business of living your best life. So I do invite you to tune in here to KCAA Radio, and also I would really appreciate it if you went to my YouTube channel, Sheilamacshow, and gave a subscribe and a listen to some of your favorite shows. And I do have some other exciting things, including a free gift to thank you. So if you go to www.sheilamac.com, that's SHEILAMAC, sheilamac.com, there you can get a free gift to get started on your reboot this year. And now, back to the show. Tune in again right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.